Ahoy, folks! So, the Switch OLED and Metroid Dread are pretty awesome. Sure, we might have figured that already, but Nintendo recently invited us out to a preview event in New York City to be among the very first to play Metroid Dread, and on the brand new Switch OLED. We've already posted a full discussion with our in-depth impressions of both so far, based on our 90 minutes of playtime, which you can find a link to in the description below. But for now, here's 10 things we learned about Metroid Dread and the Switch OLED, starting with the new Switch. The new sleek white Joy-Con look great on the OLED, but they're just a new color of Joy-Con, no different from the original grays, neon red and blue, or even the Skyward Sword ones recently released this summer. We assumed before that they were exactly the same, but it is nice to have official confirmation. Any Joy-Con work with the OLED, and the new white ones work on any old Switch as well. Since the Nintendo Switch OLED model has different dimensions than the base Switch system, it's fairly reasonable to assume that this may affect things like the Labo series. Well, we asked and got full confirmation. The only Labo kits that will not work with the OLED are the bike and piano from the Variety Kit. Most others, such as the robot, and more importantly, VR, should work just fine. Now, this was something else that, like the Joy-Con, was inferred based on what we already knew, but having confirmation is always nice. The new dock, featuring a LAN port, will be compatible with current Switch systems as well. Since the dock can be purchased on its own without buying an OLED, it's good to know that there's no exclusivity behind it. We already knew that the kickstand on the Switch OLED is far more adjustable than on the normal Switch, but now that we've gotten to play around with it, you can really set it to just about any angle you want. I thought perhaps this new version could just click into place at a few different points, rather than the single angle the current Switch kickstand is set to. But I couldn't be more wrong. The OLED kickstand can be set to almost any angle within reason, and it will steadily keep the Switch in place. Okay, now that we've talked about the Switch OLED at length, let's get into Metroid Dread. Since we were able to play a little more than the first hour of the game, it's safe to assume that there may be some spoilers ahead. The big plot detail shown right at the beginning is that Samus's computer, Adam, suspects that the mission might actually be a setup. He states before landing on planet ZDR that the bounty for this mission doesn't seem appropriate. The risk clearly outweighs the reward. Later on in the demo, he questions why someone would lead Samus to ZDR and send the E.M.M.I after her. Perhaps a transmission that included video footage of an ex-parasite on ZDR was staged in order to lure her into a trap. Something doesn't add up here, and Adam knows it. If this is a trap, was this set up by the Galactic Federation? Or the Chozo Samus encounters in the beginning? Guess we're just gonna have to wait to find that out. While Metroid Dread seems to run at a pretty smooth 60 FPS during this demo, it runs at 30 during cutscenes. This was apparent during the E3 Treehouse footage, but the cutscenes ran at a choppier frame rate, especially during the Battle of Corpius. The last cutscene of that battle showed some obvious slowdown when the statue collapsed. Thankfully, during my demo, this slowdown was not present, suggesting that further optimization went into these cutscenes upon release. Hopefully other cutscenes run at this smooth frame rate as well, but as long as the game runs at a constant 60 FPS, then that'll be just fine. One thing to note about Metroid Dread is that the maps we've seen so far are huge, and look way bigger than the maps of previous 2D Metroids. However, in traditional Metroid fashion, we won't be able to explore every area until reacquiring all of Samus's tools. It appears that Metroid Dread has more blocked paths in the opening that you must revisit later compared to other 2D Metroids. When I began playing, there were a lot of blocked pathways that I just couldn't access, leading me down a fairly linear path that actually took me through a loop back to the beginning. At that point, I acquired more gear that allowed me to access these previously blocked areas. Of course, this is what we've come to expect from Metroid, but it looks like Dread will have even more blocked paths that the player won't be able to access until later. I didn't even acquire the Morph Ball in my demo, and there were plenty of areas in the opening that required the Morph Ball. I suspect we'll be doing a lot more backtracking than usual in Metroid Dread, and that's always a good thing. So this next point was probably a given, but it's nice to receive confirmation anyway. The first E.M.M.I Samus encounters is a damaged one that is killed rather easily, just by going into the next room to acquire the Omega Cannon. We wondered if this damaged E.M.M.I counted as one of the 7 E.M.M.I on the box art. After destroying it and talking to Adam, he confirmed that there are 6 more E.M.M.I on ZDR to take down. so even though there are 7 E.M.M.I in total, only 6 of them will really pose a challenge. The spider magnet is one of the new tools Samus will acquire in the first area, allowing her to climb on magnetic walls and ceilings. Does this effectively mean that the spider ball is replaced? Well, according to one of the Nintendo reps at the event, they said yes, the spider ball will not appear in Metroid Dread, with the spider magnet taking its place. A bummer, to be sure, but the spider magnet is a fun new tool anyway, so it's not a major loss. While playing around with Metroid Dread, I was able to pause the game and get a good look at the menus, including the controls. This is the first time we've been able to see the full set of controls for the game. Well, full controls before obtaining all of Samus's abilities at least. It's great to see that pretty much every button gets used, and it all controls pretty well. None of the buttons feel out of place or difficult to hit, especially in the heat of the moment, like needing to slide away from an E.M.M.I. The game also supports HD Rumble, which is good to know. While these controls and gameplay are best comparable to Metroid Samus Returns on the 3DS, it certainly doesn't feel the same. The gameplay itself feels incredibly smooth and satisfying, and I didn't find myself struggling with the controls at all. And there you have it, 10 details we learned about the Switch OLED and Metroid Dread. Since this was only a 90-minute preview event, I didn't get to spend all too long with Metroid, but I gotta say, I enjoyed every moment of it. I'm not exactly a big Metroid fan, that would be Joey, as I've only played a little bit of Samus Returns on the 3DS, and Other M back on the Wii. Despite this, my hour or so with Metroid Dread has definitely sold me on the game, and I'm really excited for when it releases on October 8th. As for the Switch OLED model, it's definitely better than I was expecting it to be. The kickstand is really nice, and definitely the main highlight for me. I don't play in handheld mode often enough to justify purchasing it myself, but I can absolutely see it being a worthy upgrade for others. Though, that new dock having a LAN port is honestly tempting to at least pick up a new dock. Anyway, if you'd like some more of our general thoughts on the 90-minute preview event, make sure to check out our preview discussion. There's certainly a lot here, and I'm sure we're all excited to not only get our hands on the new Switch OLED, but also Metroid Dread. But what do you guys think? Make sure to let us know your thoughts on these details down below. With that, thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for plenty more on Metroid Dread and the Nintendo Switch. Check out the videos on the right for more content you might be interested in. Until next time, farewell.